You're watching TVC Breakfast, and now let's get into our next discussion. Restorative justice is a method used for dealing with a crime that puts the needs of victims first, while the offender takes responsibility for their actions. It is a practice that focuses on addressing conflict through participation and reconciliation. The International Restorative Justice Week holds on the third week of November annually, and this year the theme, Protect and Empower the Person Harmed, focuses on putting victims first, giving them a voice as well as addressing injustices and harm in a humane way. So joining me now is Associate Professor of Public Law and member, Lagos State Restorative Justice Steering Committee, Dr. Akeem Bello. It's nice to have you join me this morning, sir.
It's my pleasure to be
Welcome.
here. Welcome.
Great. Now, make us understand basically what really constitutes restorative justice.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now, let's start from the more conventional criminal justice that we are used to.
Okay.
It involves an offender who has committed an offense, and the state takes charge of bringing the offender to justice. The matter is charged in court. The offender is tried and convicted and punished. Now, the critical actors in this are the state, the offender, and the defense counsel. Hardly do you find the victim playing a critical role.
Okay.
So restorative justice is a system of justice that focuses on meeting the needs of the victim. Because in the conventional retributive justice system, the victim plays an insignificant role. But in restorative justice, the focus is on meeting the needs of the victim, allowing the offender to take responsibility for his action, and then the victim and the offender, and sometimes to a larger extent the community, find a way for the offender to address the impact of the harm on the victim. So the focus is not on the proceedings by the state and the offender and punishment.
Okay.
The offender is still going to take responsibility in the restorative justice system, but the focus is on meeting the needs of the victim, because crime harms victim. It affects victim. So taking the concerns of the victims into consideration is very critical to delivering real justice, not only to the victim, but to the entire community who are also affected by the impact of the crime.
All right. How important or how critical is restorative justice in such a way that a whole week is dedicated to commemorate it?
Yes, it's very critical because, you know, crime, like I said earlier, affects victims.
Okay.
And crime, the impact of crime affects the community, society. Crime disrupts the harmonious relationship that should exist between members of the community. And once there's a disruption of that harmonious relationship, it causes other knock-on effects, both on the victim, on the society, on the community's perception of justice and safety. So that is why it is so critical that a whole week is dedicated, to promoting, creating awareness about restorative justice processes, enlightening the people about restorative justice, and then particularly in Lagos, also to enlighten the people that we have a legal framework in place, and processes are being put in place for us to begin to utilize restorative justice fully, so that all the benefits can accrue to our society.
Okay. Now, before we talk about the issue of what should be the component of this whole 1 week that is dedicated to it, let's talk about the difference, because I like us, those of us who are not learned, would like to understand the difference between the restorative justice process and the regular justice process, because in our minds, the courts are there to bring restoration to everybody. But if there is restorative justice, a little different, can we know that slight difference, the margin between what regular justice system will be and what restorative justice
now,
is?
The beautiful thing now is that the traditional system is now embracing restorative justice.
Okay.
So the traditional system usually, like I said, focuses on the fact that an offense has been committed. An offender has been arrested.
Okay.
The state comes in on behalf of the society. The the offender is charged to court. And that whole proceedings is about ascertaining whether the offender has committed the offense or not. And if he is found to have committed the offense, sanctions are imposed. And the offender is either sent to prison or fined or other punishments are imposed. That's a traditional system. But the restorative justice system is now saying, in addition to that, there is a need to focus on the needs of the victim.
Okay.
Because in the conventional, traditional system, the role of the victim is very minimal. At most, as a witness to the offense. But restorative justice places, high premium on getting the victim involved. Because when we get the victim involved in the process, there is a lot of benefits down the line. The victim is able to have an encounter with the offender and ask, why did you do this to me? Okay. Why was I the object of this offense? And that will give the victim opportunity to heal, because the encounter in a safe environment provides the victim with an opportunity to heal, and also for the offender to take responsibility for the, offense he has committed. In the traditional system, the offender may take no responsibility. He may plead not guilty. If he pleads guilty, the state proceeds to conduct the trial and is found guilty, he may still say, I am still innocent, I am not guilty. So that way, the victim is still hurt. But in the restorative justice system, it's an opportunity to allow the offender to acknowledge and accept responsibility, and that goes a long way in providing healing for the victim, because the victim has been hurt. So in addition to just punishing the offender, that need for healing and reconciliation and restoration needs to take place.
All right, so the emphasis here is on the victim.
Yes.
All right, now just before we go, what is the component of the 1 week long commemoration of restorative justice?
The week in Lagos started with a press release. The press release was issued by the Restorative Justice Steering Committee.
Okay.
That committee is a committee of the Lagos State Criminal Justice Reform Committee, which is a wider committee that is composed of the heads of the criminal justice agencies in Lagos, the Chief Judge, the AG, the Controller of Corrections, the police, and so on and so forth. So it started with the press release. And the objective really is to create awareness. To create awareness. There's a lot of room for awareness, because we are schooled in the traditional approach, which is a dominant approach, but now there's a need to begin to explore other approaches. As part of that also, there was a talk on traffic radio earlier in the week, where the DPP of Lagos State and Mr. Benson Iwuagu also had the opportunity to interface with callers and to educate, the members of the public. And this program is also part of that. And then next week also, on the 30th, there's going to be a webinar, which is going to be organized around this whole concept of crime and restoration. And speakers have been invited to further enlighten the public and let the people know that this new innovation is now coming to be part of our criminal justice system. Because like I said, the reforms that have been taken in Lagos State in the past couple of years has provided a legal platform for the use of restorative justice. The criminal law of Lagos State has allowed for restorative justice. It allowed for the use of restorative justice processes and outcomes. And even the administration of criminal justice has also provided for restorative justice, disposition measure. Like community service and so on and so forth.
All right. We certainly will find time to talk more about this so that people can get better understanding, because now that you have given us the enlightenment, the focus here is the victim, so that he gets some level of closure and healing. Thank you very much, Dr. Akeem Bello, for coming on the program. Really appreciate what you do.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Great.